Hello, everyone. Welcome to Court of the Rings on twitch.tv/LotroStream. I'm Lotro's community manager, Cordovan, and I'll be with you for the next hour talking a little bit about the latest news. And I'm going to be in game a lot, too, because it should be a good chance to get some forward progress going on our Before the Shadow story, which we are running here live on the air. Welcome to 2023, everyone. So what happened in the office this week is largely we got back into the office on Tuesday from the holiday break. Yes, we had Monday off, as did a bunch of other people, for observance of New Year's Day in the United States, at least. That being because New Year's Day was a Sunday, which meant we got Monday off, which was kind of neat. And we had taken our holiday break prior to that. So really the work week this week was everyone getting back into the office, getting going on their 2023 work. A bunch of meetings, of course, about business type things, and also making sure that, everything is cooking along and getting back up and running at full speed, and that is happening. We have a patch next week, and I'm going to have a little bit about the release notes here in a little bit. It's going to be 34.1.2, tentatively set for next Wednesday. We'll let you know next week. And we'll have the release notes available, hopefully in French and German as well, in probably Tuesday afternoon if possible. And if not possible, then we'll have to let you know what's up, which I wouldn't know on a Friday at noon here today. But that's really the short-term plan, is we rolled back into the office and we got going on everything we needed to work on, and we've got a lot in the works, up to and including, I know, I've seen some questions about the producer's letter. That is in process. It's very early in the process yet. It always takes way longer than anyone would ever expect to do these things. It's because it's a group process and there's a lot of people involved, and we want to make sure that what we put out is properly supported and all that sort of thing. And sometimes, especially, we want to get like some assets done and images and looks of things and maybe even some fancy graphics this time. The typical. I would expect to see it not in the short term here, but within the next couple months, I would think it would be out the door. And I can't really narrow it down any further than that, other than to say we're working on it and we want it out too. And at the very least, we'll have some more information in the near future, I think, about, say, more about Update 35, for example, and some other bits in the near future that I can't talk about today. But I think we are going to have also here in the near future, it's not a producer's letter, but I think we're going to have Sev or someone, perhaps Orion or both or whoever, really, on the show to talk a little bit about general Q&A and give you an opportunity to ask a little bit about what's next and see what we can pry from the people who aren't me. But that's in process right now, and I know that some of that work actually began before the break, but now that we're back from the break, it's more prioritized than it had been. And I know that there's a never-ending ask for when's the next producer's letter, and we always take longer than you want. And all I can say about that is it takes a while, and we're getting it out as soon as we can. But that's in the process, too. So we have a patch in the works and some information about what we're going to be doing here in the near future. And what else do we got? Oh, and we got the event schedule. Let me drop a quick... I think I've got this ready to show quick. Yeah. So right before the end of the year, I think there might... accept all cookies. Yes. Anyway... I did get the public event schedule out right at the end of the year. It may see a few tweaks throughout the year. It's not 100% accurate. It's accurate as of the time that we wrote it, but sometimes things can and do shift around a little bit, and there may even be a few corrections in there. But at the very least, this week we updated Shadowfax to a level cap of 120. Yes, we're including the legendary server rollouts in the public event schedule. So if you want to know throughout the year here what's planned, you can go and do that. So that happened this week for Shadowfax, and additionally Sark Vorn, the Black Grave, opened up to Tier 4 this week. That happened yesterday, starting at 3 a.m. Eastern. This weekend's bonus is a loot box Ember's Motes boost of 10%. And then on the 12th, next week, we've got Sark Foreign going up to Tier 5. And as you can see on the 12th, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern, we've got an XP boost that'll be happening as well. So you can just take a look at the schedule there. And we did bring in, say, the Curator and the other seasonal vendors to that list as well. So that will hopefully help ease some questions that you've had that we've not always been great about getting the word out on time for. So we're including that into the public event schedule this year. So hopefully just about everyone can take a look at it and be informed. It's a national holiday in Sweden. Okay, today is. I heard that there was some kind of, quote, bank holiday happening in Europe as well. That's impacting like the ability to get those release notes localized. But I wasn't sure if that was a Sweden thing or something else. So Garther wants to know about what we're doing about Dwayne. Dwayne being the name that some folks in the community have given to a rock that showed up here with Update 34 that was blocking a path and we had to remove. The plan for that is to have a way for you to honor this rock in the near future. I don't want to spoil it and then ruin the fun, but there will be a way for you to commemorate the rock. There'll be a thing. It'll be a thing, and it'll be coming out in the near future. Perhaps Update 35, but I'm not sure yet. But I really don't want to spoil it more than that, other than to say that we have heard you, and we had heard you. This actually already got done a little while back, and we're releasing it at the first available opportunity, which is not 34.1.2, but will be in the near future here as we get ready for patches beyond. This will be more of a item in the update, probably Update 35. All right. Yeah, so this might be a good opportunity. I don't know. This should work. Let me see if this works. Let me move my camera just a little bit so that I can speak to it better. All right. So here we have the Update 34. Let me see if I can make that a little bigger now. Yeah. Here we have the Update 34.1.2 release notes. These are the notes that will be going live next Wednesday. And it's definitely possible that there are some errors in here. This was put together by me yesterday based on the current state of the release notes. It did get feedback from the team, and so I know that it's at least had a first look. But just keep in mind, whenever you see this kind of work in progress work on Court of the Rings, if something changes between now and then, it will sometimes. That's just how it rolls. But we can take a look at what we have here right now. There also may be a few things that slip in that either I didn't catch, had been given a release note, for example, or, will be checked in maybe even this weekend. So we'll see how that goes. But we have a removal of reputation requirements to use housing decorations. Housing decorations will no longer require any kind of reputation requirement for usage. We also are adding some housing items to the Cardolan and Swanfleet Mission and Delving Borderers, and the Felagoth Chandelier's been scaled down a bit to better fit into a wider variety of houses. On the item side, we're adjusting the amount of each attribute provided by stat tomes to increase more smoothly across tiers and better match the minimum usage level required. It sounds a little scary, but my understanding is it's not really that big a deal, and just an increase and smoothing things out a bit. There are now level 101 Burglar Word of Mastery traceries in the Rivendell Archive. The Hope Effect from +5 Hope tokens, 40 minutes, will now persist through defeat, and when you get one from a loot box, you'll get 2. You'll get a stack of 2. The cooldown for the Delving Edelharn tokens is now 30 seconds instead of 3 minutes, yay. Blackgrave Warsteed Leg Cosmetic is now dyeable, and Lore Masters can again purchase Lesser Eagle variant tomes from their class trainers. On the PvMP side, we have a bunch more PvMP work that's going to be coming out in subsequent patches and game updates. So, not a lot on the PvMP side for this particular patch, our first patch of the year, really not long after we get back from our break. But players and monster players will no longer benefit from the buffs coming from the Delving of Fur. Sorry. Quests and adventure areas. Dread. So we've done a bunch of work on Delvings. This is based on feedback really throughout December. The Delving Malice, Sauron's Defense 1, no longer auto-stacks. Dread has been reduced in high-tier Delvings just across the board. The amount of Dread has been reduced. We fixed an issue with the Delving Malice's Sauron's Defense 2 where it would reapply incorrectly. It's also now a tiered effect with 3 tiers to be removed and no longer spreads between enemies. That's the Malice effect. Corrected an issue with the Delving Malice Infested. Also, the Malice Sauron's Eye 1 to 3 have had the amount of Dread they spread reduced. It was 235. It's now 123. And the Flies and the Clutch of Flies 1 and 2 now form a cloud around the player rather than the enemy. Oops. And the descriptions have been added to each Delving variant and level, making it easier to know which Malices are active and what it does. Delving Strength tooltips now show the amount of modified morale and damage output. Malices at high levels of Delving Variant 4 have been made less punishing. A bug corrected that caused monster damage values to multiply rather than add. Clutch of Flies 2 on, I believe we're actually now using the term Delving Variant. We had debuted and called it flavors and things like that, both in sort of how-tos and I believe in our guide to Delvings as well. But we're changing the name. Don't like it very much. And it's now going to be called Delving Variant. So Delving Variant 2 and Deadly at Range on Delving Variant 4 have now swapped places. That really just has to do with how they roll out. Missions that feature Delvings require players entering the mission space to also have the corresponding wrapper quest from the mission giver. This is part of an exploit fix, but it's also a functionality change. If you do not have the corresponding wrapper quest, you will be returned to your first save milestone location when you get into the mission instance. So, if a mission that has a Delving, you have to do what it's supposed to do, which means you enter the space and have the wrapper quest from the mission giver. If you don't have the wrapper quest, it's going to be sent to your most recent milestone location. People were finding some ways to do things that were we couldn't support. And that's why that change is happening. The mission Sigils and Signs now properly spawn scouts after destroying the banners and slaying the Uruks. Black powder kegs can now be used in among the watchtowers regardless of group size. They weren't working in some variants. The shortened account for Daughter of Strike now properly displays inside Delisad. People asked about the Yuletide Hobbit gifts. Yuletide is over, but the gifts remain. The reason for that is that we actually have discovered we need a quick downtime in order to shut off the Yuletide Hobbit gifts. So that's why it's running until 34.1.2. But after 34.1.2, so really through next Tuesday is your last chance to get the Yuletide Hobbit gifts. When 34.1.2 is released, Hobbit gifts of the Yuletide variety will no longer be available. And then we've also updated some German translations, in particular in Cardolan and Swanfleet tasks. All right, let me go through chat. Sort by alphabet and reputation. That would be a nice feature request for sure. Any news on when Delvings will be put into skirmishes? Nothing I can say today. I don't personally know yet, but I know that Orion has talked already about plans to do that next. I would assume next would be something like Update 35 or perhaps a little bit after that, depending on what the content of Update 35 is in the work schedule. But I'm assuming that that's happening pretty soon here. So while I don't have an exact date for you, I would certainly expect it to be in the next within the next couple of game updates for sure. All right. I think that's what we got. Yeah, it's nice about, actually I've got my Yuletide presents. Let me quick go in game. This is as good a time to swap as any if I can remember Nope, that's not it. There we go. That was my son's stream. Alright. We are now in game. Let me turn up the music just a little bit. And let's roll with these. Oh, I already got my free one for the week. So there we are. So where do we leave off in game? We are on Book 1, Chapter 5 of Before the Shadow here. We've got a couple of Uruks to take care of here before we move on. And at the end of the stream last week, I ran out of time to find Uruks. Was not having immediate luck. But I've since done some inventory management and what have you, and that will surely mean that they're all going to show up. Right? So I think the Uruks are going to be here very soon. In the meantime, just a quick reminder, I'm playing a character that I have not actually really learned to play yet, because I've not yet played a burglar in the game. But I'm doing that now, and picking up some things as I go along and learning how to do it. So that's the character I'll be playing. And so far it's been working just fine. Except for the times I guess I died early on because I did stupid things. But that isn't the character's fault. Problem lies between keyboard and user. Or something. Getting around. Or maybe I need to go up. So I've seen some comments about lag. Hopefully our work during the restart helped a little bit with that. We did initially go live on Wednesday with some commands disabled that we needed to check to see what kind of impact it was having due to we had heard a few bugs and we wanted to just make sure it wasn't related to that. Regardless, it was turned off for a little while and then turned back on. And one of the things we noticed was that with it turned off, some lag had manifested. So we went and reran the commands to re-implement that thing, which just really had to do with, if I recall, some land block accomplishment directory queries. Alright, I've got to meet Brigolith. Just off this way. Alright. Sometimes I wish I could set day and night on the stream. It's a little hard when I've got the spotlights on, as I do right now. It can be a little hard to see my game screen at night. You just see the little bright window, but I've got some, streamer-style spotlights going on to help make things hopefully look a little better. Alright, let me... No, I'm okay. Like here I can see fine, but when I'm just kind of in the woods, it's a little tough. So I don't know what else I can really say about lag other than we are continuing to work on it. We have engineers specifically tasked to be doing work on it. They've been doing work on it. We have had, rolled out really all throughout 2022. I have no idea how much, but 1,000 hours of work went into lag in 2022, maybe. And we did a bunch of things throughout the year that have made improvements. Lag is still there. It would be lovely if someday we find the switch to turn off lag, but that may not be in the cards for the Lord of the Rings Online. However, we are continuing to do some work related to lag as well, and I would expect to see some of that work roll out on Bull Roar and elsewhere here in the coming updates. And we're, it remains a top priority for us. So we are returning to the city above, collecting some artifacts within, and presumably doing some fighting while we do it. So let me check my map here, make sure I am indeed going the correct way. I am. Oh. The battle starts now. So we are continuing to work on it, and I would expect to see more in the near future. I think, one of the things that we've talked about, I guess, recently, but remains a key focus of our efforts is how things communicate behind the scenes. A lot of that is not really termed in a way that makes a lot of public sense. Like if I talked about how, certain deed tasks deal with the accomplishment directory, which is essentially a system that says, did you do a thing? Well, let me check. Yes, you did a thing. We want that to be as efficient as possible. And we found ways already that we can make progress with it, and so that's been really good. And there's a lot of work that remains not needing to be done related to it as well. I'm not just going to roll in here as much as I'd like to. Ping. Can I handle both of these? Let's find out. The answer may well be no. Yep. Daze him for a sec. There we go. Let me get sneaky again. There's 2 soldiers and a captain, huh? Alright, well. Oh, that worked out okay. Next. Oh, I've been stunned. I could find my footing. Let me do that. All right. Oh, I got stuck. That's right. I got stuck at the end of the quest. And I had to actually take care of that. Which I did. It's been a few weeks. So I, did take a break myself over the holidays. Spent time with my son, and we had a good time doing that. It was cool. It was very cool. Now, I need to find this thing. The thing is behind me. And it is... should be right here-ish. So I myself took a little break here from playing the last couple of weeks. I just haven't had time. And so this week I got back into the swing of things, and that was nice. Getting my character going on both worlds. There we are. That I'm currently playing on. I know that we had a really exciting holiday break in the Lord of the Rings Online with some cool events and festivals and plays and beyond. So that was really cool. It was fun watching some of the videos. I Now that I'm on OBS, I can't drop in URLs quite as easily as I used to. But there was a really great video. Maybe I should figure out the link. Where someone played live game music using their keyboard to Coventry of the Bells, and that was one of my personal favorite videos I've seen from the Lotro side for a little while. There's lots of great videos, but that one in particular I just thought was awesome. I have long wanted to spend the time to be able to live perform a little bit of music in the Lord of the Rings Online. I think the idea of having a band all performing live, not using plugins and such, is doable. I would like to see it. You wouldn't be able to do a lot of kind of coordinated beat style music, but that doesn't mean you can't make music. I mean, just think of one of my favorite bands is Tangerine Dream, for example. And I have this long forming idea in my head of getting a group of people together and doing live performance. And a video like that was super motivational. I would love to see that. But that video, if you haven't checked it out, please do. I'm sure someone can drop a link, although I don't know if we have links enabled. Maybe one of our mods can drop a link on that one. There was also the Hobbitry in Arms, the Pie Hard video, which was really cool from over the break. I really liked that as well. I saw that. First I was like, wait a second, why am I getting called out for broken hatchets? And then I remembered I picked up the task last night as I was kind of doing inventory and such. Getting ready for today's stream just a little bit. I probably shouldn't just run into a group of these things. Good way to not survive. I'm trying to think. I think I've pretty much covered everything. At this point, Extra Life is done as far as I'm aware. I may have one or two people to get back to. So please do reach out to me if you haven't heard from me yet. And otherwise, donations are closed for the year. I can't do this year round. So you're always welcome to donate to Extra Life. But in terms of the Extra Life campaign from November, it's now January, and at this point I would say wait till next year to donate if you want to. Although honestly, if you donated this year and gave me the incentives later, it would be probably fine. But whatever, let's not get into that. Let's just say call it done, and if I haven't heard from you, please let me know. I have not heard of plans to add more roving threats. That's not to say it would never happen or anything, but no, I have not specifically heard of plans to add more roving threats. Yes, the Celebrimbor Sauron stuff is what we're seeing here today in Before the Shadow. And yes, I too have been very much enjoying it. Let me know if you had anything particularly interesting happening with you over the holidays. If your kinship or group had something cool going on, let us know. I'm back to doing, this show every Friday. That's the goal. I might have a few Fridays off here. I'm actually thinking about taking some personal time sometime in January because things are just slightly slower than usual. And so I may miss a week here in the coming weeks, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Looking for ring lore. So, they went to Gil-galad. Bonds of friendship made with the dwarves of Ered Luin. Uh, Region was a young kingdom when the men of Numenor arrived. Their friendship endured. However, they were not pleased, they the elves, when the Numenorian axes began to dredge Swanfleet and build dikes to channel the water. Uh, yeah, I believe that's Galadriel, right? That they're talking about. Pretty sure it's Galadriel they're talking about, who entreated Celebrimbor to stop the men of Numenor from harming the land. Yes. Eventually, they gave up the woods as lost. They turned their skill toward mastering their craft. Celebrimbor and his fellowship of jewelsmiths became the most renowned workers of riches in Middle-earth. If they could not halt the slow degradation of the land's beauty, they could seek to supplement and preserve it through their craft, and thus they were ensnared. So, for carry-alls, we could make them more widely available. That could be a discussion with the e-commerce team. At the moment, they do remain a premium item that is available for limited times and such. But we are aware that there is feedback that we make them more widely available. Yes, Jerseal, thank you, Druid's Fire. I couldn't think of the name off the top of my head. Jerseal's video of Coventry and the Bills live performing on a keyboard. About the coolest thing you'll see. Way better than my show. That's all there is to say. You have a USB MIDI keyboard. So this is a gaming keyboard, computer keyboard that's being used, not keyboard MIDI style, but performed as if it were an instrument. And it's no reason that we couldn't get a band together and do something like that, except for the fact that I don't have the time or skill at this point to do it. But it's an idea that I've long wanted to see done. I might do myself someday. I don't have anything to announce for Avatar updates. That is something that I know that we have been doing some work on behind the scenes and are continuing to do some work on. So I don't know what the current delivery date for that might be, when you might start to see the arrival of that work. But we have been thinking about doing Avatar-related work, and some of that work has been getting done. And so I would imagine at some point here in the future we'll be able to share more with you about what we mean. So really, Antheron, Sauron, had deceived them by being real nice and flattery and demonstration of skill and things like that. But not everyone trusted him. Turned out to be a pretty important thing to have done. Okay, my phone is going off the hook. What's going on? Give me a quick second. Okay. Sorry about that. No, we have no connection with the Locher Wiki. The Locher Wiki is a group of players. There have been a couple of times in the past where I've helped them out with some information. On the other game side, I've even written up a few things for the wiki just because I could. That reminds me, actually. I've been meaning to check to see if I put the community loot list in the Locher Wiki. And if I haven't, I should put that as a 2023 task. So, Sauron Antheron did not like the Bright Company. Big surprise there.
Despite the mistrust of some at Celebrimbor City, Antheron did not remain idle. He gathered to himself promising students and gave to them secret knowledge. But whatever he taught them, always he had something to reserve. Always there was more to be learned, more instruction to be given.
Yeah, you're welcome, Alec, about the additional wardrobe space and cosmetics of late. I've seen some good things already in the works for this year in terms of cosmetics. And yes, more wardrobe space even beyond the 50 we brought out over the holidays. So it was really the long game here that got played. Antheron, as the elves were increasing their own skill, he was sort of insinuating himself in a way that was low key, but becoming more powerful all the time.
Antheron convinced the jewelsmith to forge great rings of power. Long they toiled.
I don't know specifically how to correct a prerequisite issue with the launcher. My suggestion would be to start by making sure you're running the game as an administrator, like right click, run as administrator. Make sure you're using the 64-bit client, and make sure that you have enabled a Windows UAC pop-up, the user access control. Go and check that. Beyond that, go to help.standingstonegames.com and technical support can assist. So, Celebrimbor gave to the kings of dwarves and men the rings he had made, and for a time he knew peace, not knowing he'd been deceived. Shortly afterwards, Antheron departed and would return only once, bringing death and destruction with him. After he was gone, though, Celebrimbor began to doubt. In time, suspicion awakened in his heart, and he began to worry that Antheron had ensnared him by his own greed in some scheme. So, he used the arts he had learned to forge 3 more great rings, the Rings of Power, unknown to the treacherous Lord of Gifts. He believed that he and his kinfolk could use these 3 rings for protection should they need to. And now we're going to a place that is very much not like the rest. One thing is not like the other in this case. Don't bring a picnic basket. You probably won't want it here. So, Antheron went to Mordor, and there he cast aside his guise. He sought the fulfillment of the scheme for which he had planned, walking unnoticed among his enemies for so many years.
You go on ahead. My words will guide you, but I go no further than this.
I will say, I have jumped off the bridge. You will die, and you will go back to your spawn point, which is like the circle outside. You'll have to make your way back. Don't do it. How cool is this though? Let me zoom in and Alt F12 for just a smidge while we take this one in, huh? All right. I think Squirrel. I already talked a little bit about the state of the next producer's letter. It's in process. It'll be a while yet, but it also is not the only way to get information to you. And we would expect in the near future to have a visit from some folks to just kind of talk a little bit about what we got going on. Yeah, yeah, this isn't the place to get your taxes done.
In the fiery heat or a dream, not doom, Sauron forged
Remember, this is a story here.
one ring to rule them all, one ring to
This is about as close as I've been able to get.
one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness find them. In the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie, Celebrimbor had kept one of the three for his own.
So as soon as Sauron put on the One Ring, Celebrimbor was like, "Oh gosh." So he removed his ring right away and vowed never to wear it again, lest his mind be dominated. Those of the jewelsmiths who had similarly kept rings were made to give them up, sometimes by force, and the three rings were sent in secret to hidden bearers. Messages were sent to the men, dwarves, and elves, in which Celebrimbor admitted his folly and warned of the coming war. So were the folk made ready to defend Middle-earth, but it would not be enough to save Eregion from the ravages of Sauron. The gates of Mordor opened, the armies of Sauron came forth, he'd seize as many of the rings of power as he could find, but the three remained hidden to him, and he wasn't able to grab them at that point. Now, Meneldir, he's like, "Hey, how's it going, everyone? What gates of Mordor? Armies of Sauron? Oh, man. I hope you've leveled up a lot, dude. What did I miss, Hurgler? Surely it's not as bad as all that." Sometimes elves have trouble marking the passage of years. He means no offense. Yeah, well, just saying. So Tegwin was the child who was engaged in sort of wanting to defend Mossword and got a safety lesson from us, in addition to a little bit of training.
I have waited Orkheim for much longer than you have been alive, Dumadon.
All right, so basically we're going after the Uruks, and that is, yes, the other way. So let me go around to the road and make my way over to it. I wonder, I don't actually have the stable master found here, so I'm going to have to take the trip over. So, PAX East is in late March here and is in Boston. And I think there's a pretty good chance we're going to be doing some kind of player meetup there. I don't know how big it's going to be or how official it's going to be, but I have had a couple of questions already asking about it. And my answer at this point is I think so. Well, come on, stop. Now you do it. Anyway. So, if you are planning to be at PAX East, I'll have more information about that as we get closer. But there is a plan to have a general SSG player meetup around PAX East. There's some other plans too that don't involve Lord of the Rings Online that we might be able to talk more about too. But we do things as a group in some ways, right? So if we have a player meetup, it's for everyone. And I would expect to hear something here in the next month or so. We'll see. If it comes together, fingers crossed. I can't speak as to when our next supporter pack might be. I would expect us to do something again in the future in that regard. Both of the ones that we've done have seemed to be well regarded and well supported. So I would expect to see us do something here. But I couldn't possibly tell you on the timing of it or anything like that. Yes, we did get the Before the Shadow soundtrack over on YouTube. We were able to do that last month as well. So if you haven't had an opportunity to hear that yet, you can find it over on the YouTube channel. Otherwise, I had a really good holiday myself. I don't really have too much else to mention. I went to see a really cool festival of lights at a local zoo, and I got to see a Chinese acrobat troupe perform and do some really amazing things. Like blew my mind. At one point, a guy was spinning around like this metal kind of stick with bells and not bells. It was like a rattle thing, some kind of ceremonial thing, and the Wong Fei Hung theme was playing, which I know from like martial arts movies, Drunken Master 2, that kind of thing. And it was really cool to see. I also went and got my HO scale train set up and running over the holidays. It was zipping around the Christmas tree, and that was really cool. So I got to do that. I'm learning a little bit. I imagine some folks here are going to understand this one a little bit, which is over the holidays I was able to acquire a resin 3D printer, a cheap one. They've gotten pretty cheap, at less than $200. But I got a resin 3D printer, and so now I'm starting to work a little bit on making some minis. And that's pretty cool. My tracks. There we go. Find the footprints. All right, now I need to get back to Meneldir. Actually, my cat did kind of like the train. Normally, I wouldn't expect her to because she doesn't really like loud noises and things. But she finds the train interesting. So, yes, the train was a big hit. Everyone in the house loved it. Actually, the trick I did this time is I actually glued it down to a cut open cardboard box so the track was nice and stable. And it made a huge difference in terms of it being able to just run without issues. And so it worked out really good. So they need to basically talk to their folks about Saruman's designs. And they have things to do.
I must soon return to Imladris with these grim tidings.
I've got some gear to put on too.
Led north after Carus Galebra.
So I'm level 12. This is quest level 15. I think it should be fine, but it's something to be keeping in mind. I think under normal conditions, rather than just running the main book here, I will have run at least a few of these side quests, and that'll get you up to 15. No problem. But for the purposes of this, I have not done so. However, let me real quick pop on a little bit of that gear, so I'm not really essentially using my old starter gear type stuff. Give me a little bit better stuff. It's all junk. There we go. Alright. Should be a little better anyway. Now, Tom Elk here is, yes. Follow the road up and around, and it should basically be there. The cuckoo clock has remained dormant. So at one point it was working, and I think one of the gears either just wore out or got stripped out or something, and the weighted chain just rolled through it onto the ground. I tried to take a look at it without having to fully take it apart, and I couldn't re-thread the chain through it. So it's going to take more work than I really had the skill to do. And so I put it in my box of crafts to do someday when I retire. But, you know, to maybe take a look at it and actually pull the mechanism away from the clock and do a little work to see if I can just rethread it or what might be going on there. But unfortunately, I never have had the time to actually do that, nor the skill either. And if I ever find the kind of money where I can just, you know, have an actual clock smith work on it, I will. But might be a while before that ever happens. So at the moment, the cuckoo clock is there, ready to be brought back into life, but is currently unable to function, which is sad. So, yes, I think it's true that you could pretty much use your starter gear on through Moria, except I mean, some of these Uruks occasionally get a little tough. You will run into tougher mobs, and it just doesn't hurt. Like, you don't need to go too granular, in my experience. You don't need to go too granular with the upgrading of your random loot and all that sort of thing. But if it's one higher and you're just dealing with it anyway, do it, and it doesn't hurt. We lure this guy out a bit. A whole bunch of questions here as we're kind of getting a little bit closer to the end of the show. Let me go and, you know what? Let me try to take these things out first. Producer's letter I've already talked about twice, so I'm not going to repeat myself there. 64-bit servers is something that we have engineers currently working on. I would expect to potentially see something like two-factor authentication come out along with those updated servers. Whether it's before it becomes fully 64-bit or not, I couldn't say, but I think it might happen first, it might happen with, I don't know. So there's that. Lag, I've already discussed. I've been releasing things to help with lag really all throughout 2022, and that work continues into 2023. In terms of the content that we might release, I can't speak to that at this time either. But I would expect to hear more from Sev and others here in the near future as we bring out the producer's letter and have conversations here in the coming weeks. So expect to hear quite a bit more about our 2023 plans, but not today. As I mentioned at the start of the show, we basically got back from a holiday break on Tuesday for the vast majority of the office, and we've been working this week to go straight into our 2023 plans, including getting a patch out for next week. We did go through the release notes on that earlier in the show if you feel like going back and checking it out.
You found ooze at the hole of the Swift River, I do not doubt it. But did you find orders?
I showed the blade we picked up. It's a dagger from the Bright Company. She will bring the dagger to Imladris, where it can be kept in a place of honor.
And so I will bid farewell to you and the Ranger Meneldir, for I must bring this warning to Imladris.
The wizard Saruman has sent Uruk warbands to the ruins of Eregion and Swanfleet, seeking ring lore. What he desires to do with it, Lord Elrond will know more than I, but surely it is not good. I believed we had learned the danger of such craft, but perhaps it was not so. I fear we are on the very precipice of danger. I wish you and Meneldir good fortune in your journeys. Be cautious on the road. Don't trust others too readily. Farewell. Perhaps we will meet again on a more sunny day. And what does Meneldir have to say? He will take Brigileth's warning to heart. Travel together. Bring word to the chieftain of the Dunedain of the danger posed by Saruman and the Uruk-hai. Make for the ruins of Old Cardolan and consult with a friend who lives among them, Narndir by name. Come with me. Yep. So, to start with, we're going back to Mossword, which you can do from the Stable Master here. It's tricky. I don't know on the Lotro Beacon. There's interest in doing it. It's not that there is an interest. It's that it takes time. And at some point, you run out of work hours. And so if you want to add the beacon to those work hours, you either just sort of accept that you're now working, minimum 50 hours a week, or not. And I have, to date, not really been able to bring that back. I did bring the streams back, I did all the work that I said I needed to do in order to do that. And it's just a matter of, okay, now do I really have like an afternoon and a half to do the beacon and the chronicle on the other side? At the moment, I'm not sure. There's interest though. So maybe I'm just going to make it happen and somehow fit that work in here for 2023. The other thing that I've considered about bringing back is streaming to Facebook. Facebook in particular seems to have an audience that is really on Facebook and maybe not so much elsewhere. And what I found when I stopped doing this live stream on Facebook is that there was a whole bunch of people, like I don't know, at least dozens, who have said, "Oh man, now I can't watch your show anymore. I can't chat anymore because I'm not going to the forums and I don't do Twitch and all this other stuff." And so it's something I've been considering because it is nice to have that chat and be able to communicate with what feels like a its own kind of group in a way that I'm not really addressing here by streaming live on Twitch and then offering the archive on Facebook. And so I'm considering going back to live streaming on Facebook if I can get my home bandwidth to handle it well. But we'll see how that goes. Part of what I'm doing is, as you see here, I swapped over to OBS at the start of the year, and that should help a bit with the toll that it was taking on my computer. I was using XSplit, which is a great program, but has a much bigger footprint. And if I can get it rolling, I think I'm going to try live streaming to both Twitch and Facebook. I think I'm still going to not live stream to YouTube. The audience was just very, very small, and the cost of trying to maintain 3 live streams for bandwidth was just too high. And YouTube really seems like a pretty good place to put the archive, as it were, anyway. So I think I will probably end up doing that, not streaming to YouTube. But I might try bringing back Facebook here in the next couple of weeks if I can. So, yo, I got your stuff. I'm actually going to finish later. I want to take a little bit of time off the air to look at my gear, look at my character, and figure out what I want to grab. I'm assuming the dagger, right? Yeah, definitely the dagger, right? Yeah. All right. So we're at Book 1, Chapter 11. So we're basically crossing through Tharbad to get onwards, and I think that looks like a pretty good place then to call the show. Yes, thank you, Ponton, for bringing that up. There are plans to update the Lotro forums this year. I believe that we now have a couple of other Daybreak games that are getting the updated forums first. They were ready, we aren't. But in the near future, that we will be moving to new Lotro forums, and I would expect to see that in 2023 here. I don't know whether it's going to be first quarter, maybe second quarter. Who knows? That's been a project that's long in the works, but it is something that is being actively worked on. It was being worked on throughout November and December and is being worked on today as well. So I would expect to see new Lotro forums at some point in 2023. Reminder that is going to mean a fresh start for everyone. We're finally getting rid of layers upon layers of old management systems that have been kind of duct taped together to bring about what is the current Lotro forums. And so it is going to start fresh with an archive of the existing forums so that you can copy and paste things over if you really need to. But that'll be happening here in 2023. And we'll have more information about that as we get closer to it. But, won't be in the next couple of weeks, I can tell you that much. I would expect it, however, in 2023. All right. Thank you so much for joining me here for Court of the Rings, first stream of 2023 here. We have great shows all week long on twitch.tv/LotroStream, so please do check them out, including Tolkien Professor after this and Druid's Fire after that. So I will see you next Friday here for more Court of the Rings. Bye-bye.